How are you doing? Okay, this is going to be a video tearing apart how, if you add in perspective to globe maths, the globe falls apart, right? Because we have a situation where we have three groups of people on our opposing side who won't take on board that perspective is not part of globe maths. It's the thing, one of the main things that was hijacked, as well as natural effects like, inferior mirage and different things, as well as natural effects to create globe, basically, right? But we're just going to work off of just purely angular size for this video. Now, I made another video some while back, and I wasn't the first person to hit on what I made the video or what I showed in the video, because that's a known thing for a good few years. But I showed how when you use the angular size change with our curve, I showed how it disqualifies your curve, showing that what they're calling our curve is purely perspective. But I'll link that video in. It's a slightly different video from this. I'll link it in the description. Anyway, let's just get on with it. You'll see what I mean. Okay, the angular size, the height in feet of Dale Craig is 2,550 feet. The height of Blackpool Tower in feet is 518 feet. We're going to say 520 feet, just to round it off, 520. The angular size of Dale Craig, it's 0.48 of a mile high. It is 0.5361 degrees. The angular size of Blackpool Tower, it's 0.098 of a mile high. It is 0.46024. I have to make a concession. In the video before this, or two videos before this, I gave the angular size of the tower bigger than Dale Craig. Because of my distance to the tower, I had mixed it up with a distance to the bank at the seabed as opposed to the tower. But it didn't matter, because when I was showing it in the demonstration with GeoGebra, I gave it double. I gave Dale Craig double the angular size of the tower, and it totally helped flat out. It didn't help the globe at all. So it makes no difference if Dale Craig is slightly bigger in angular size. As I said, because when I showed it, I gave Dale Craig double the angular size in that video. You can watch it. I won't go into it all now, but you can watch it. It's only two videos before this one. Okay, so if we go into Metabunk, right, a distance in miles of 51.3 miles, a view height in feet, 20 feet, right? The geometric hidden for that distance is 1400.17 feet, right? So let's just say 1400 feet. Right, so if we remove 1400 from the height of Dale Craig, which is 12550, right? So 2550 minus 1400 equals 1150 feet, and we convert that, right, just to show feet to miles, it'll be 0.2178 miles, right? So if we then go into the angular size calculator, give it a distance of 51.3 miles and a size of 0.2178 miles. So the remaining visible part of Dale Craig, according to the globe, right, will be 0.2178 of a mile above the globe's geometric edge, right? The one thing that doesn't exist, right? But that's what it would be. And when we calculate the angular size of that height at that distance, we get 0.24326 degrees. Now, that means that it's only half the angular size of the tower, right? Now, as I showed in that other video, when I gave the Dale Craig double the angular size of the tower, it still didn't help the globe. It still totally proved flat. It didn't help the globe at all, right? But when we add in perspective to the globe, we make it the remaining visible amount, we add angular size to that, and suddenly it's tiny, right? It's only half the size of the tower. So that would mean that if we came to the photograph here, and we get a line, right, and we zoom in a bit, right, so bring it over a bit, that would mean that, right, there's the seabed, right. That would mean that the top of the mountain would be here, right, about there. That's where the top of the mountain would be, right? So this part here, I'll just get another one, a different colour, make it blue, right? This here, right, where this is showing, if we're on a globe, right, and perspective existed as well, that would be down here. That's where that would be, because it's only half, because the height of Blackpool Tower from the seabed to the top is 520 feet. So we're going to go halfway up, it would be there. Now this is a point that I brought up, it was brought up, I think it was Adam Meakin originally brought it up, but I remember using it in the debate against Ranty on this photograph here. And he, at the very end of the debate, and Conspiracy Cats just wanted to get away and end the whole thing because Ranty had nothing. None of them had anything because they couldn't argue with it. So as soon as you add in perspective into the globe, it ruins the globe, right? The globe is ruined because that's what, if angular size change, if we're on a globe and angular size change existed simultaneously, then that's where the top of the mountain is. But we know, right, the top of the mountain is up here, right? And we know, as I've shown already and proven, that it's purely perspective. And I've gone through all of it in the past few videos and in the past, but in the past few videos I really hammered it home because I wanted to present my challenge, which I'm going to link in the description of this video as well. And my challenge video is the one just prior to this one, and it's a challenge about using a drone. So the point being is that, if I just remove that, the point being is that if this is geometric arc curve is the cause of the mountain appearing lower than the tower, then when you raise up with a drone straight up from the observer's location, right, then that mountain, because at the top, if we look straight out from the top of the tower, right, you'll be looking straight over the top of the mountain if it's geometric arc curve, right? That's what will be happening. If there's just purely arc curve, obviously they have no perspective or anything, right? So it's purely geometric arc curve, right? But if it's perspective, then as the drone raises up, then the mountain will appear to raise with the drone. And when you're looking over the top of the tower, you'll be still looking at the mountain, right? Now it depends on how far away the mountain is and its size and angular size. Because if it's got a really small angular size, it's going to appear like you're looking over the top of it when you're standing here on the seabed. It depends on how far away it is. But for this particular situation with those mountains and this tower, then in that case, when you're looking over the top of the tower, if it's arc curve, then the top of the mountain will still be down below the tower. If it's arc curve, right? If it's perspective, then as the drone rises, then the mountain will appear to rise with the drone. And as the mountain goes up, the tower will appear to go down. Right? Now, I showed this in 2 videos before this. I have, at the end of the video, I have a video of someone on a communications tower in Kansas or somewhere, and there's a drone or helicopter goes straight up in the air with a camera, and you can see that all the things that you couldn't see suddenly start, and that appeared lower than the foreground objects, all started coming up above the foreground objects, all the higher things. So that can only happen with perspective on a flat plane. That cannot happen. It cannot happen with geometric arc curve. So the whole purpose of this video, just to recap, is I've just shown how if perspective existed and we were on a globe, right? If globe maths did take perspective into account, then this would be where the top of that mountain would be, just down there, not up here, down there, right? But we know perspective does exist, and if we were on a globe, then that's where the top of the mountain would be, because perspective does exist. But they hijack perspective, which is the very reason why it's the thing that destroys them, especially concerning this image, right? They don't have perspective within their maths. They don't have perspective within their paradigm. They try to hijack it, and that's the best they do. Whereas when we actually bring perspective into it, like I've done in the past, and like I'm doing here, it debunks them, because their anglers, if the perspective existed for them, then the height of their mountain would be there. Do you know what I mean? That's where it would be. That would be because due to its angular size, it would be there. It'd be only half the angular size of this. And there wouldn't be any perspective. There'd be no optical drop, no visual occultation. None of these things would exist. It'd just be this little mountain down there. And as a matter of fact, if we added in visual occultation as well, then it would appear even lower to be down there. So if we had angular size change and visual occultation, the tip of that mountain, I'm just going to get, just because this is an important point, I'm just going to change the color to blue and change this to that. The tip of that mountain, instead of being up here, right, the tip of that mountain, I'm just going to make that the same, nice and thin, would be down here, right? If we added angular size change and visual occultation in on a globe, to be down there, that's where it would be. Now you can't add visual occultation in because it can't work on a globe, it only works over a flat plane. I'm just saying, with the people out there who don't seem to want to understand that perspective is omitted completely from our curve maths, who want to think that perspective exists because it exists in reality, so that means globe and perspective exist. It's like, no, only one of them can exist. I'm sorry, one or the other, globe or perspective. We know perspective exists, so that disqualifies globe. So just to recap, yeah, perspective does not and cannot exist on a globe, not part of our maths as it's shown. This would be, just in this one observation alone, that would be the outcome of it. Just angular size alone would bring it to there. You know what I mean? If we just added in the angular size of this claimed visible the apparatus left visible would be there. And if visual occultation was a thing as well, which it can't be on a globe, but just hypothetically, then the top of the mountain would be down there. It's a joke, right? But it can't. But if we took in angular size change into it, that would be where the top of that. So the blue line would be where the orange line is. It's a complete joke. Now that's not the case. In reality, we have perspective. This is reality right here in this photograph. Proves it's flat outright. And if anyone has anything to say about it, the drone challenge is there. Right? You go out there, bring your drone, and go straight up from the observer's location. Start at 20 feet, where he was, the coordinates unknown. Start at 19 or 20 feet at his exact observation height, and bring the drone straight up in the air, nice and slow. Sorry, I get a dry throat when I'm on the videos. And when I'm on video, because I'm talking so much. Bring it straight up in the air, and what you will notice, right, is that if this is our curve, right, then the mountain will stay below the top of the tower. But if it's perspective as you rise up, the mountain will appear to rise up with you, and the tower will appear to go down. So mountain go up, tower go down. Just like in Manhattan. You rise up, looking at you're on the ground looking at the Empire State Building, and it appears higher than the One World Trade Center. Rise up a drone straight up in the air, be a couple of miles away from it, rise a drone straight up in the air, and suddenly the Empire State Building will go down and the One World Trade Center will go up, even though it's a bit of a distance behind it. It'll still rise up because we're on a flat plane. With perspective, yeah, perspective exists. Globe doesn't. You know, wake up, ballers. Thanks for watching.